So speaking of
Right.
flow, let's kind of get into the pool water disaster.
Oh, yeah,
So how
jeez.
did this happen?
Okay. Okay, so first of all, so I have the claw hammer system. Um, I use the 40 plate chiller to cool the wort, but I live in a desert. I just kind of find it irresponsible to just run cold water down the drain for the purpose of cooling wort. It's just such a waste of water. So one day I had the bright idea to use my pool as the heat sink ultimately.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
'Cause in the winter time, so roughly between I would say October and March, the pool is on average 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, yeah.
And then on the outskirts of that, it's probably, slowly creeping up, and then by July, it's 95. So for the most part, my pool is a really good heat sink. So what I have is it's actually set up right over there. What I have is, an old fish tank pump that I used to use, 2,000 gallons per minute flow rate, and it just pumps through the plate chiller and then the pool water goes back into the pool. So cold 50, 55 Fahrenheit water comes out of the pool, goes through the chiller, and then goes back into the pool. The hot wort goes from, the boil pot, and then through the chiller, and then through the pump, obviously, and then back into the boil pot. No problem. I do this all the time. I've been doing this, I don't know how many batches now. 50 batches I've done this, whatever. It's never an issue. It's
Right,
fine.
right.
Well, one day I was like, okay, I had a slightly lower yield. I think I had like 4.5 gallons maybe or
Okay.
4.2 gallons or
Okay.
something. And I'm like, I really want to try and, be greedy, get all this extra, all the line losses, right, between all the tubing. I'm like, well, I got to make sure I do that. So I use a Anvil bucket fermenter, stainless
Mhm.
steel, and I set it on the ground next to my boil pot. And then when the wort is actually, this is great. The 5 gallons of roughly 210 Fahrenheit wort, because that's the boiling temperature here in Phoenix, because we're at 1,200 feet, will drop down to about 70 degrees with 50, 55-degree Fahrenheit pool water in 9 minutes.
My. Yeah.
9
That's
minutes. It is
phenomenal. Yeah.
insanely efficient. My head blew up the first time I measured this. I was like, this cannot be right. It is so efficient. 200 degrees, 5 gallons of liquid, 200 degrees to 70 degrees in 9 minutes. So so after it's about pitching temperature or just within a couple degrees or whatever, I take the tubing, instead of feeding it back into the boil, I just start putting it in the fermenter. If it's, roughly 1050 or below, I don't oxygenate, so I just kind of splash it
Right,
around,
yeah.
let it arc through the air, try and oxygenate as it's whatever. And so the open bucket fermenter was on the ground next to the boil pot, and I filled it up, and it was all done, but I have a bunch of line losses, and I never measured my line losses. I try to, like, lift up the tubes so it
Mhm.
drains all the way out, and I was like, "Well, I really wanna try and get this last, like, half gallon out." It's probably not a half gallon, but I just whatever. So I disconnect the I disconnect the plate chiller from the pool, and I pick up the plate chiller, and the tubes for the wort drain out into the barrel and into the
Mhm.
fermenter. But if you notice, it goes, like, up and then down, right? So all the liquid on this part drained out just fine, but there's, like, a little bit of liquid on this part that couldn't make it over the hump. So I'm like, "Well, no problem. I'll just turn it," right? Well, when I turned it, the entire plate chiller's volume of water, of pool water,
Yeah.
went directly into the middle of the open fermenter. And
Oh.
I was like, I just shout, luckily no one's around, so I just shouted, and I just stood there for, like, 1 minute staring at it like, "I cannot believe I just did that." I wasted the entire brew day.
Oh
I
my
forget what beer
gosh.
it was when I made it. It wasn't a super expensive one, so it wasn't like a triple or anything. I think it might have just been a Hefeweizen or something that's a little bit cheaper to make, but the whole brew day was obviously trash, and as soon as I did it, it started making the liquid pouring sound. I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Well, what's in the pool water?" Like, "There's chlorine. Is it is it sterile? Is there any way I could save this? Could I boil it again?" And I'm, like, running through these permutations in my head of how I could save this
Right?
batch, and I'm just like, "There's no way I could save this batch." Pumped it right out, right then
Oh,
and there.
man.
I was and ever since then, I just don't get greedy. I'm like, "You know what? Nothing goes above the level of the fermenter until the cap is on it, and then I'll deal with line losses." Like, I'll spill a little bit, I'm gonna eat the loss. I just don't care,
Yeah.
because that was so annoying. I was so mad at myself.